When you were 7 years old, someone who loved you sat across from you at a kitchen table and told you something about money. They believed it completely. They had lived their entire life by it. And they passed it to you the way people pass down names and traditions. Not as advice, but as truth. They were wrong. Not because they were careless, not because they did not love you, but because someone told them the same thing when they were 7. And someone told that person before them. And the lie traveled quietly through generations, costing each one something they never knew they had lost. There are 3 of these lies. They are not dramatic. They do not sound dangerous. In fact, they sound responsible, reasonable, safe. That is precisely what makes them so expensive. The first lie kept you trading time for money your entire career. The second lie kept you from the one investment that actually builds wealth. The third lie, the most personal one, kept you small on purpose. And the people who built generational fortunes figured out all 3 before the age of 30. Here is what they knew. The first lie is the most beloved one. It is repeated in every language, in every culture, on every continent. Work hard, be loyal, keep your head down, the rewards will come. It is not entirely false. Hard work matters, discipline matters, showing up matters. But the lie inside the advice is the word job, the assumption that trading your time for someone else's money is the foundation of financial security. Here is the problem with that foundation. A job has a ceiling, not a metaphorical ceiling, a mathematical one. There are only 24 hours in a day. You can work 10 of them, 12 of them, 16 of them. At some point, the ceiling arrives, and no matter how hard you work above that ceiling, the number does not change. The people your parents admired, the ones with the houses and the stability and the quiet confidence, most of them were not working harder than everyone else. They were working on something different. They had figured out early that income attached to hours is fundamentally limited, and income attached to assets is fundamentally unlimited. John D. Rockefeller said something in 1905 that was never meant to leave the room. He said he would rather earn 1% from the efforts of 100 people than 100% from his own efforts alone. He was not being cynical. He was describing the mathematical difference between a job and a system. Your parents' generation was not given this information. The economy they grew up in rewarded loyalty and tenure in ways that the modern economy no longer does. The advice was not a lie when they received it. It became a lie when they passed it to you without updating it for the world you were actually entering. The correction is not to stop working hard. It is to direct that same discipline toward building something that earns while you sleep. A rental property, an investment portfolio, a business that does not require your daily presence. Any asset at all that separates your income from your hours. The moment you own something that produces income without consuming your time, that is the moment the first lie loses its power over you. Most people discover this in their 40s, when the ceiling becomes undeniable. The ones who build wealth discover it in their 20s, when there is still enough time for the asset to compound into something that changes everything. Your parents told you to find a good job. What they meant, what they would have told you if they had known, is find a way to own something, anything. Start there. The second lie is more dangerous than the first because it feels like wisdom. It sounds like exactly the kind of thing a responsible adult should believe. Buy a home, build equity, secure your future. It is the financial advice most repeated by the generation that preceded you, and it is the advice most likely to quietly consume the wealth you are trying to build. Here is what your home actually is. It is a liability that occasionally appreciates. It costs you in mortgage interest, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, and opportunity cost every single year, without exception, for as long as you own it. The equity you build is real, but it is illiquid. You cannot spend it without selling or borrowing. And the return, when calculated honestly against all costs over 30 years, rarely beats a basic index fund. Robert Kiyosaki made this argument in 1997 and was dismissed by nearly every financial institution in the country. 15 years later, after 2008, the same institutions quietly admitted he had a point. The lie is not that owning a home is bad. The lie is that it is an investment. An investment produces income. A primary residence consumes it. The distinction sounds small. Over 30 years, it is the difference between a family that builds wealth and a family that builds equity in a house they can never sell because they still need somewhere to live. The wealthy understand this differently. They do not avoid real estate. They pursue it obsessively, but they pursue it as rental property, assets that produce monthly income that other people pay for, that appreciate while generating cash flow. The home they live in is often modest. The properties they own are the investment. There is a reason the wealthiest families in America have held real estate for generations. Not the houses they lived in, the buildings other people paid rent to occupy. That distinction is the entire lesson. Your parents told you to buy the best home you could afford as early as possible. What the numbers actually say is this: buy a modest home you can afford comfortably, invest the difference aggressively, and add income-producing real estate when the capital allows it. The home is not the investment. The home is the place you live while your actual investments grow. Confusing the two has cost more families more wealth than any market crash in history. The third lie is the quietest one. It was never spoken as financial advice. It was spoken as manners, as dignity, as the kind of behavior that distinguished respectable people from those who talked about vulgar things at dinner. Do not discuss your salary. Do not ask what things cost. Do not speak openly about what you earn, what you owe, or what you are worth. Money is private. Money is personal. And in many households, money was simply not discussed at all. This silence was not neutral. It was catastrophic, because the people who were getting rich, the ones building assets and compounding wealth and understanding tax structures, they were talking about money constantly. In private clubs and boardrooms and investment meetings and family offices, wealth was discussed openly, strategically, and without embarrassment. The silence was not universal. It was class-specific. And the class that practiced it paid for it. When you do not know what your colleagues earn, you cannot negotiate effectively. When you do not understand what investments your neighbors are making, you cannot learn from them. When you do not discuss debt openly with your family, the same mistakes repeat across generations. When money is shameful, it is also invisible, and invisible problems do not get solved. The wealthy teach their children about money the way other families teach religion, deliberately, seriously, with the full understanding that this knowledge is not just useful, it is the inheritance itself. Old money families do not simply pass down assets. They pass down the language, the frameworks, and the instincts required to protect and multiply those assets across generations. The Rothschilds did not become the most enduring wealthy family in modern history by keeping money polite. They taught every child in every generation the rules of capital, the mechanics of leverage, and the importance of financial literacy as a non-negotiable family value. Your parents' silence about money was an act of love wrapped around an act of limitation. They were protecting you from vulgarity. They were accidentally protecting you from knowledge. The correction is simple and uncomfortable. Start talking about money with your spouse, with your children, with trusted peers who are building something. Ask questions that feel rude. Negotiate for things that feel awkward. Understand precisely and without embarrassment where every dollar you earn actually goes and what it is actually doing. The people who build wealth are not more talented than the people who don't. They are simply less silent about the subject that matters most. 3 lies, passed down with love, received without question, lived without awareness of the cost. Get a good job and trade your ceiling for someone else's floor. Buy a home and then call a liability an investment for 30 years. Never talk about money and repeat the same invisible mistakes across every generation. None of these came from malice. And all of them came from people who believed what they were taught, lived what they believed, and wanted the same stability for you that they had found for themselves. But stability and wealth are not the same thing. Stability is the absence of crisis. Wealth is the presence of options. The option to stop working when you choose, to give your children what you never had, to face an emergency without it destroying everything you built. The people who achieved that kind of wealth did not receive better advice from their parents. Most of them rejected the advice they received and went looking for different answers. They found them in books, in mentors, in the quiet observation of people who had already built what they wanted to build. The lies end the moment you decide they do. If you recognized one of those lies in your own life, that recognition is worth more than you know. Most people live inside inherited beliefs their entire lives without ever examining them once. The next video on this channel will take you deeper. It will show you the exact psychological system that credit card companies use to keep intelligent people in debt permanently, not through deception, but through a design so precise that even people who understand it still fall for it. The rules exist on both sides, the ones that build you and the ones that drain you. Now you know 3 of the ones that drain you. Stay silent, build quietly, and own everything you touch.